It's 9:30. I'd like to call a meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals to order on this Monday, March 22nd. Would you do a roll call, please, Ms. Kukla?
Sure. Mr. Donovan.
Here.
Ms. Britt.
Here.
Ms. Faith.
I am present.
Ms. Barnes.
I am present.
Ms. Johnson.
I'm here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Wonderful. Okay, you made you read the preamble.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm going to read the preamble this morning. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law under COVID-19 emergency declaration, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Next slide, Maurice. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. We've also received emails from those who have provided written comments on a particular matter. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Do we have any withdrawals or postponements?
Yes, Madam Chair. Calendar 21-038 regarding 15609 Lakeshore Boulevard. That is Cole WG Cleveland, Ohio LLC proposing to establish use as a plasma collection center in an old Walgreens building. The councilman has requested a postponement. I believe that there is a meeting this evening, so we could give them April 12th. Seems like a pretty quick turnaround. The day after that would be April 19th, and then after that would be the 26th. So it's up to you, Madam Chair.
I think April 19th. I want to, just in case.
Okay.
Okay. Without objection, board?
Without objection.
Without objection.
Okay. All right, then we'll start. Ms. Faith, we'll start with calendar 21-032.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 21-032 at 3182 West 25th Street, 1870 West 25th Street LLC owner proposed for use as a restaurant in a C2 local retail business district and a pedestrian retail overlay district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Mr. Donovan?
Everyone for this case, kindly raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please respond with an I do and your name.
I do. Gary Fisher.
Any others?
Anybody else here for this case on West 25th?
Last call.
I think that's it, Tim.
That's it.
Okay. History of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The property was originally zoned general retail in 1929. In 2012, it was placed in the local retail business district and the pedestrian retail overlay district. In the Building and Housing Records Room, I found that in 1974, a permit was issued to repair storefront from a firebomb. There are no variances on file for this address, and in the more recent history, we find that there was a certificate of disclosure issued in 2005 stating that the use of the property is 6 dwelling units. Then 2017, a certificate of disclosure was issued stating that there is a commercial use in the property. And then in 2018, a permit was issued for interior exterior alterations for 3 storefronts and 7 apartments. And that's all that I have that's relevant, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. The legal standard, Ms. Wagner?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting an area variance from the off-street parking requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Who's the owner of 1870 West 25th? Is that you, Gary?
No, I'm the architect. The owner's actually out of town.
Okay, do you have a letter saying that you could represent him?
I believe that was submitted with our documentation.
Okay,
Yes, we have that, Madam Chair.
okay, great. Moving right along, tell us exactly what you folks would like to do.
Okay, so there should actually be in the files a couple of later options on this. The first floor was in 2016 was actually used as a bar, was a gentleman's club. So it was a bar and restaurant down there on the first floor. They had full use of the first floor and basement. The current owner purchased it, redid the storefront to rediscover the historic nature of the building, has renovated the apartments upstairs, and has leased the far south space to a barber shop, which leaves 2 more retail spaces in the building. The owner of the barber shop actually would like to open up a small restaurant in the middle space and the northern portion of the building. The property is pretty tight to the property lines, so we recovered as many spaces as we could on the site. And then obviously there's on street, and with this site being as tight as it can and being a downtown type of building, there's very limited parking on the site. Other properties in the area have the same kind of difficulties, whereas there's no additional parking other than on side streets and on West 25th.
The 10 off-street parking spaces that you are short, where are those folks going to park?
Those are the 10 off street, they park behind the building. So there are 10 spots behind the building. We were able to recover some, and I don't know if you can see the rear of the building. You can see those angled spots on the lower left-hand photo.
Yes, okay.
So we were able to get 10 spaces around the building.
Bill, don't you think the employees of both the barber shop and the restaurant are going to use up more than that? Where are the customers going to park?
Well, the customers would be on street, as many of the buildings on West 25th have no parking. Considering that we're actually less space than was used with the restaurant and bar that was in there before, we're actually taking a third less space. The barber shop is mostly a daytime operation with people in and out short periods of time, and likewise even the restaurant. His intent is to have more of a takeout style food service. Although he does have dining there, it's more of a fast casual rather than a long term. And I would just say, again, most of the restaurants along West 25th have the same issue, that there is no dedicated parking on each site to each of those buildings.
Where do the residents who live upstairs park?
They have 1 dedicated space out of the 10.
Is So those other people are doing what? Riding a bike.
Well, yeah. Well, there's not that many apartments upstairs. There's actually 7 apartments. So, and then you
So
have
you
three
have at least
three
7
additional
people that
spaces.
would need a car spot. So they're going to 7 are going to take up the 10. So,
Right.
you know.
And some of the, again, they're sort of non-concurrent uses, if you will. The folks are working during the day. And then, you know, that's when you have the businesses open during the day. And then it switches off in the evening. Again, we have the same difficulty, you know, up and down West 25th Street. There is just no dedicated parking. And we're not asking for anything that this building hasn't been used for in its entire history.
Right. Well, it was built probably during the streetcar era.
Right.
There is a large parking lot about a building away in Aldi's, or I don't know what it's called now, but it was called Aldi's. Has there been any attempt to reach out to see if you could create a deal for extra parking in their lot? Because their lot is huge.
Yeah, and I know that the owner has approached them. He hasn't gotten really any response at all from them. So literally no reaction at all, yes, no, or otherwise.
Wow.
And again, you know, going over there and just with the barbershop functioning, you know, as it is, and I would say it's fairly busy. They are doing a lot of walk-in traffic. They are doing, you know, folks are parking on the street. I've never had an issue finding a spot either across the street or on the same side over there either.
Well, we have an objection here by one of the neighbors. Owns the car lot, I guess, the Charlie's Auto Sales.
And I would say that the owner has told me that, you know, Charlie's parks a trailer in front of his building, usually a truck and a trailer, and blocks basically all of the parking in front of the building at times. So the owner has asked him, please don't do this. He's got, you know, parking in his own lot, but he tends to park on the street and take up the parking spaces that are immediately in front of this building. And I'm sure that's why there's an objection.
Madam Chair, I can say that I've had a conversation with Matt Moss, the neighborhood planner for this area. They have generally gotten very positive support from the people in the surrounding neighborhood. I believe the CDC supports this project. The architect and the owner have done a very nice job renovating this building, bringing it back to use. We feel that these are perfect uses for this area. We fully support the variance here.
Thank you, Maurice. Board comments, questions? Anybody? All right, then I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, sorry to come in a little late on that. Maurice, could you put up the plan view? Like the
Yes, ma'am.
bird's eye view of the area?
Oh, you want the aerial?
Yeah.
That one and the colored one?
That
There we
one?
go. Yeah.
This is
Just trying to
zoning
get
map.
a sense of, yeah, thank you. Okay.
Maurice,
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
this is Liz Kukla. How close, this looks like it's closer to the Clark area. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, it's not far from Clark.
Yeah.
It's a few
Okay.
blocks south of Clark.
South of Clark.
I think, yes, that's south of Clark.
Yeah, we're about 4 blocks south of Clark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Four blocks. Okay. I don't have any objection to it, Madam Chair, given where it's located in the area. I think it's very, very consistent with what's going on, and there's in that area there's fairly adequate street parking as well.
I'm really
So I
concerned about the lot two lots down. You know, I'm looking at their north, I think. I'm not sure what direction anymore. But look at all that junk on that lot or whatever.
I believe that's the car lot. Mr.
Charlie's?
Fisher, is that correct?
That's the owner that actually objected. Yes.
Oh, geez, Louise.
Yeah.
Right.
This guy should be cited for, he's got everything on, it's not drained, I don't think. It's not it's just
No, it's a mess.
it's a mess. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. All right. Go ahead. Ms. Faith, you were going to make a motion?
Yeah, I move that we go ahead and approve this. I think this is pretty standard for the area, the age of the building, and there's adequate off-street parking in that neighborhood.
Second.
Call the roll.
Ms. Britt,
Yes.
Mr. Donovan,
Yes.
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Calendar 21-032 is granted. It'll be ratified on April 5th, and we will send you a letter.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
As well.
Thank you.
Ms. Faith, calendar 21-033.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 21-033 at 9511 Buckeye Road. Board of Education owner and Woodhill Homes LLC proposed to erect a 120-unit multifamily apartment building located in a residential office district and an urban core overlay district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Will everyone for this case kindly raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? I'm looking for a response of I do in your name.
I do, Alex
Marcus
Pesta.
Fields.
I do, Philip Migas.
Anyone else?
I do, Megan Capel.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, on to history.
Thank you very much, Timothy.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan and Chairwoman Johnson. In 1929, the property was zoned general retail. Then in 2019, it was changed to the current residence office and placed in the urban core overlay. Madam Chair, I think the most relevant information is that there are no variances on this property and that in 2018, a permit was issued to demolish a 2.5-story structure. And that's all that I have. Madam Chair, also, I do have an authorization letter for, you know what, I can't read the applicant's name. It might be Mr. Magus,
Migas.
Migas, sorry about that. But just to
You're
let you
good.
know, we do have that authorization letter. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, great. Phil, are you going to be the lead on this?
Oh, we have the legal standard yet, Madam Chair?
No, but I was just going to ask him a question.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Lori?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the maximum setback, frontage build-out, screening, and off-street parking requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you, Lori. Maurice, I was lying. You know that, don't you? Philip, let's hear what you have to say.
Alex?
To the board, thank you very much. My name is Alex Pesta. I'm a principal at City Architecture. Madam Chairwoman, I would just like to provide a little bit of context and lead up and then turn it over to Mr. Migas.
Okay.
Woodhill up next is part of a 3-year long planning process that we've been working with Megan Capel, who is with the Community Builders, and CMHA. If we could go to the next slide. It is a monumental neighborhood plan, of which this phase of work is one of the key first initial phases in order to provide what we're considering a move once or move first relocation option for residents. There are 487 units on the existing Woodhill Estates, and this first phase is very intentionally off-site, so folks can move out of this site into this new apartment mixed-use building, and then that eventually leads us to the ability to start to selectively demolish some of the sites here and ultimately rebuild the entire Woodhill estate. Can you please move to the next slide? Kind of went over it. The housing stock here is extremely dated. It is what HUD defines as structurally and design deficient, meaning that this is not how folks should live in the 21st century. I kind of went through some of the demographics of the site, but you can see our study area has been very large, and we are gaining a lot of momentum with the community partners that are here. Can we move to the next slide, please? Last year, we submitted a comprehensive neighborhood plan to HUD. This year, we are competing for implementation dollars. We remain optimistic that we will get good news here any day now as far as a potential site visit from HUD, where we are able to make a stronger case that would then open up potentially an additional $35 million of federal funding in order to realize this plan. At the core of this plan are three major tenets of neighborhood choice kind of recipe, which is neighborhood, housing, and people. And if we could go to the next slide, I will kind of give an overview of what the housing components are. So as I mentioned, the housing components come in multiple phases. We are here to talk to you about bottom left corner Woodhill Station West, which is the 120 units. Again, you can see that it is very intentionally off of that core site. And then the second phase here that we anticipate is Woodhill Center East, which is off to the right, closer to MLK. We think that that brings close to 200 units online for folks that, again, we can start to make changes within that core site. If we could go to the next slide. The other aerial did a great job because it showed the school building gone, but you can see the site here. I would just call and point out the extreme proximity to the Buckeye RTA station. So we do see this as a true opportunity for transit-oriented development, and we've sized the parking lots to really rely on public transit. Just a kind of anecdote or a data point. In our planning work, we have done extensive surveying of folks in the neighborhood, and less than half own a personal vehicle. So we do know that a lot of people rely on public transit. So having that direct access point is an ultimate kind of value add to this development. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Philip Migas, who has been our project lead and architect on the work, and he can walk through why we're here today. So I thank you for the time.
Thank you. Phil?
Hi, I'm Philip Migas. So the next three slides are going to show you the variants or the changes that we'd like for approval. As you can see on this plan, you're seeing we're not up against the property line. We are 15 feet back for the majority of the building. And there's a couple reasons we did this. One is we actually had it back further. City architecture had it back further, wanted to keep further off the road for the residents because there's a lot of residential units. The planning department very much called us out and said we need to pull the building closer. So they've really improved the plan by building it, bringing it closer. We do have a serious grading challenge on this site. So the front of this building that is on street, that is 15 feet off, drops actually 12 feet from where the front door is to the end of the building. That 15 feet is allowing us to do a lot of grading. Also, there is a sidewalk directly up against the edge of the property line, and having residential units only 3 feet away from that, we didn't exactly love that. So this allows us to put a buffer, put some landscaping between the sidewalk and those units, and also deal with the severe grading issue. Go to the next slide, talk about the next one we have. So the next one has to do with the build out needing to be 90% of the actual frontage. This is a very, very long site, and there's some odd angles on this site. If we were to do a 90%, the building would be 653 feet long, without a breakage. We didn't do that. There's also some reasons why we set the building back straight off the front and provided a kind of a courtyard, which is where you can see that kind of circle there. So that break in the building allows us to provide an entrance to Buckeye Road and still deal with the grading. Again, we're dropping almost 30 plus feet across the site by putting the building basically north-south on this plan here. We're able to separate and basically make a major step in the building at that point, and having a lower level and upper level to kind of to deal with the grading. There is some things you can also see down at the far left. We've got our surface detention area. We needed that area. That would have been difficult for us to build in, and also that's the lowest part of our site to allow us to deal with the detention on site. And then also the courtyard you're seeing, I mentioned before, there is actually a structure that we're putting there that's a covered pavilion that doesn't show up great on this plan, but you'll see it on the renderings. It does help continue the building structure all the way across. We are only building right now the building that's labeled the new building. The future building is a future phase, and part of that future building is on the current site that we're dealing with now. So that's that 116-foot dimension that you're seeing at the far right. Go ahead to the next slide. And the last variance we have is for screening parking. The parking needs to be behind the building. For the most part, if you look at this from Buckeye Road, a majority of the parking is behind the building. We put as much as possible as we can. The only exception really is at the far left side of the plan. There's a little bit of parking that we have on Buckeye Road that we've held back to the face of the building, again, to provide landscaping in front of the building. That left-hand side is our access to be able to handle garbage and have most of the parking for the lower level of the building. So the next slide is showing some of the renderings. So this is a rendering of the plaza and kind of how we're envisioning it, people living in it once it gets built out. This is a major drop-off for vehicles if they have to get, or emergency vehicles or other people coming directly to the leasing office or the main entrance to the building. You can see there's a plaza out there. There's also a playground, and this is underneath the pavilion I was talking about. If you go to the next slide, you'll see kind of the overall looking down into that plaza. Doesn't show the new building, the future building that will be off to the right of the project. So that's our three things we'd like to get approved. And if you have any questions, I'd be like to take them now.
Board questions?
Madam Chair, we do have Marka Fields, the neighborhood planner for this area, to speak to the city's perspective.
Wonderful. Good morning, Marka.
Good morning. It's Marka Fields, City Planning. I just wanted to express our support for this project. We've worked with them pretty for a while to get to what it is that we wanted them to do, to try to get it as close to the zoning as possible. And we feel like they have done everything they could to get to that point. And we are in support of the project. We work with them through the choice grant and everything else. So this is something that we do support and feel like it gets to the spirit of what we were trying to get at when we changed the zoning. And really, I think it's something that will support the idea of transit-oriented development at this intersection.
Thank you, Marka. Board, any questions?
Madam Chair, this is Kelly. I don't have any questions. I just want to express that I'm very happy to see this happening. I remember when this first started, and it has taken a while to get to this point, and so I think this is a very worthwhile project. So I don't know if the board has any more input, but I can make a motion if not.
Go right ahead.
Madam Chair, considering the testimony and support from city planning, I move that we approve the variances as requested for calendar number 21-033.
Second.
Okay, call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Bates?
Yes, I think this is a very exciting project, and hopefully with Cleveland's own Marcia Fudge Now at HUD, we should move forward on this, I hope.
I will not
Mr.
be part of
Donovan?
the motion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not part of the motion, but yes.
So we had a yes from Mr. Donovan. Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar 21-033 is granted. It'll be ratified on April 5th, and we will send you a letter.
Thank you very much, board. Appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you.
Take care.
Good luck.
Calendar 21-034. Go right ahead, Ms. Spiggs.
Thank you. Calendar number 21-034 at 9322 Nelson Avenue. 9305 Garfield LLC owner proposes to renovate and use as an office and warehouse in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Tim?
Will everyone for this case raise their right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please respond by saying "I do" in your name.
I do.
I do, Amanda Kramer.
Anyone else?
Who was the first lady that spoke? Who said
Mark
I do?
Fields.
Oh,
I do.
okay.
I do. Delicious.
Oh, there was someone else. Who was that?
Delicious Robinson.
Oh, delicious.
Anyone else?
Okay.
Hearing none, on to history.
Okay.
Thank you, Tim. Liz?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If we could just confirm, is Ms. Robinson representing the applicant?
Yeah, so he's on Rich. He's the owner.
Rich Assembly's here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
We
Did
should
you-
probably swear him in as well. I'm not sure if I heard if
I
he
think
was.
he did.
I did.
You did.
All right.
Oh, you do.
Yes, you do. I bring it up all the time. All right.
Okay, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. And I didn't find any records in the records room other than that in 1957, use of the premises as a store and to deliver household goods and housewares was issued again in 1957. And that also involves calendar number 57-867. And then, Madam Chair, I think the most important information or relevant information is that in 2014, a permit was issued to board up, or a request was made, and then a permit was issued to board up one standard size front door with screws. And that's all that I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Wagner?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting a use variance and area variances from the off-street parking, landscaping, and screening requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship, particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance. Will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and the granting the variance not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights. The granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wagner. Will everybody please mute their microphone? Thank you. Okay, who's going to be the spokesperson?
Oh, you have to unmute yourself now.
If you're going to speak.
Rich Assembly, can you hear me?
Okay, Rich, yes.
Oh, my apologies. Thank you all. Just to provide some context, this facility was initially procured approximately 5 or 6 years ago I was using it simply as a storage unit for construction materials, things such as drywall, wood, insulation, things of that nature. For the last 2 years, it no longer serves that purpose and it has been empty. So in lieu of selling this property, the goal was to make it generate some type of income. And some time back, we submitted drawings, and in response to the drawings, we had the variances that we're here discussing now. The first variance deals with the application of an office and a warehouse space in a residential district. This building was built in 1920. Prior to the application, I think, of that particular section 33703 of the building code. The second one is in reference to, excuse me, get to my correct one. The second one is in reference to parking. This facility butts directly up against the property line on the east side of the building. And on the west side of the building, it may be I think it's actually on one of the actual drawings, the space on the west side of the building. But in both instances, it makes it extremely difficult to get the parking. Okay, so right there you will see that our property line is so close to the facility that it makes it extremely difficult to get any type of parking in accordance with the code in this particular instance. So we were seeking relief from the use and relief from the parking restrictions.
Well, is that a parking lot in the rear of the building?
No, what you're currently viewing now is a potential rendering. So right now, there's a pretty aggressive hill behind the building that would have to be removed and addressed in order to provide what's on your screen currently. In addition to this, we would have to procure the lot, the parcel 136-01049, which is currently with the land bank. That would be the only manner in which that we could get the parking to adhere to the guidelines. There's just simply not enough physical space on the lot for this particular facility.
Okay, continue.
And there was the last one was the 10-foot landscape transition strip that would be needed as well. And it's again, this is all a matter of lot dimensions. And given the narrow lot lines on the east, the west, and the offset from the street, it simply makes the requirements difficult to adhere to.
Well, according to your proposal, you want to put in an office and warehouse.
So the spirit of it is a mixed use. So the spirit of it is to have an affordable place for individuals to, we listed out, if you go up to one of the earlier ones, the earlier slides, right here. Okay, so affordable conference rooms, meeting rooms, communal area, storage, and things of that nature. So the spirit here is to have a place where small business owners can meet, congregate, and things of that nature. Very akin to other projects that you see in the Van Aken district and things of that nature. Right now, it's an empty space, and we want to make it functional. And given the community that it's in, we want to make it so that small businesses could have a place to have formal meetings and things of that nature. So that's the overarching spirit of it. So probably the appropriate term, I think, would be mixed use. But those are just examples of how we would envision utilizing the property.
I want to hear from Marco, the representative, the planner for the area. Marco Fields.
Yeah, so actually, I just found out about this one towards the end of last week, so I haven't had a chance to meet with the applicant yet. But from my understanding, a portion of it is actually on land bank property, and so it will require approval from land bank as well. So we would want to have an opportunity to sit down and discuss what the plans are. But also he would need to submit an application for that lot if that's what he intends to do. I'm not opposed to the use in that area because it's very close to East 93rd, and it's already more of a commercial property anyhow. And so if you can do something to improve that area, that would be great. We just need to have that conversation.
And this is Rich DeSimple again, if I may just chime in, what you're seeing on your screen now is just a reflection of what it would take for us to adhere to the guidelines. So I don't want the interpretation to be that we're just grabbing land bank property. It was just a mechanism to show the perimeter of our site and in order how much space we would need actually to be in accordance with the guidelines. So that's the view you're looking at right now.
Okay, I want to hear from Amanda.
Hi, good morning. Amanda Kramer with Union Miles Development Corporation. The applicant reached out to us and said that they were looking into this project, so we definitely appreciate them trying to include us in this. I echo Marca's sentiment in the use. It is close enough to 93rd, where there is heavy manufacturing, industrial, commercial uses. And as far as the parking is concerned, Nelson is a residential street, but so there is significant street parking available. And depending on how many people are actually using the space, I don't see a huge issue with just using street parking. Obviously we like to see it paved, just aesthetically, generally that's easier to
Amanda, hold on. You're not.
We're getting a lot of.
Please mute your microphone.
If you're not.
I think it's Rich. His micro. He's getting a lot of feedback. He just muted himself. Thanks, Rich.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Okay, Amanda, I didn't mean to jump on you, but.
Oh, no, you're fine. So yeah, as I was saying, I think that we would prefer paving in some way just because it's easier to clear the site with snow and that kind of issue. And then as far as the landscaping is concerned, there is a small strip of grass there. So if we could work with the neighboring property owner to improve that space so it's not just a strip of grass and maybe make it landscaped in some way, we would definitely support that. But otherwise, we are supportive of this application. Definitely would like to see the property put back into functionality. And the uses that the applicant has outlined would be nice to have in the community for some of our small startup businesses that could use that space.
I'm going to reach out to the board. Do we really feel that we could make a move on this today, or do you think we need to postpone it to see if he gets the city land bank?
I think you need a postponement.
I agree.
Okay.
I'd like to see him be able to have the conversation with Ms. Fields and with the CDC, so that when he comes back, has more complete plan.
Rich, you got your hand up?
Yes, I was. Yeah, I just wanted to chime in that the initial variance request is for the opportunity to utilize street parking in lieu of the parking requirement. And I'm just going back to the visual that you see on the screen now. This is to depict what it would take to be in full adherence to the guidelines, but the request is to utilize comparable to what Ms. Kramer referenced, the street parking in a residential area in lieu of the parking requirements in the current OBC. So if you go to, we have one that's called, here I'll tell you exactly which page, excuse me, where you can see the request.
Is that truck that's parked alongside your building yours?
Yes, that is mine.
And then that container that also
Correct,
is your...
those are correct. So if you were to go to the slide with 349.07, the variance is to reduce or eliminate required parking spaces. That's what, right here. This is the second parking component of the code that we're not meeting, and the variance is to, if we could reduce or eliminate the required 5 parking spaces for our square footage. And that's why we're asking to utilize the residential street parking, and there are only 2 homes within probably almost 200 meters of this facility. They're the immediate neighbors on the east side of the building. It's one family in both of those homes, but there are no other residences. One of the very aerial shots will depict that there are 7 or 8, maybe even more lots. How many was that?
It's about 23 up to 100.
There are 23 empty lots up to 102nd. I'm sorry, ma'am. I interrupted you.
Well, whatever we decide on goes for the life of the property. And so the fact that there is nobody but 2 people on the street doesn't preclude that 5 years down the road, it is in full with all kinds of residents.
Very fair. I have nothing to refute that. But even 10 years from now, or however many years from now, this would still be an opportunity for those new additions to the community to utilize the facility as well. So I don't think that the addition of more people would hinder or hamper the use of this.
Well, how many people do you think are going to be in the meetings that you're going to, have here first? Because you can only put so many cars on the street.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, and I don't have any hard anecdotal data to provide you to say X, Y, and Z. We are going to have, if you go to one of the latter pages, we may have a rendering in, so we are going to have, no, we do not have an interior rendering, so my apologies, I misspoke there. So we do have 4 bathrooms, 4 offices, and 2 conference rooms in the space that an individual could utilize.
The 2 steel containers, the 2 K lines, one on the side of the building, one on the rear now I see. What are they? Are they going to be taken off the property?
Yeah, that's old stuff. So it's serving no purpose at all. Can easily be removed.
And that truck, that's yours? Is that, you can't even get out, can you?
Those things are stationary. They, like I said, I haven't utilized this facility in a couple of years. So that's just stuff that we've been storing on the lot. It can easily be removed, no problem. They have no value, and there's nothing in there of any material nature.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
It seems like the testimony has a lot of if comes and could shoulds. And I'm just wondering, the timeout, the postponement allows the appellant to get together with the city and the local development corporation and make decisions about, in the end, what is it going to be? Are you going to go after the city lot or not? It's not like, well, we could do this, or that's something that might happen. We need to have a plan that we have some confidence in, that this is why you're asking for the variance.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Liz.
Thank you. Per what is shown here on the screen, this is what the application submitted to Building and Housing. The other slide showing the potential parking was not submitted to Building and Housing. So if you were to approve this today, it would be without the parking. And then he could down the road try to secure that land bank lot. But today you would not be approving that hypothetical parking situation that includes the land bank lot. You would be approving zero parking with zero paving behind the lot and zero landscaping, or sorry, zero paving behind the building and beside the building and zero landscaping.
Madam Chair, I also don't see a site plan with the Building and Housing submittal. And I would say, so I don't see where the existing driveway is going to be paved or anything. At least it's not specified on a plan. And my opinion is I like what Mr. Dissembly has proposed with the land bank lot, and I think that's actually a better solution for this property, because I would like to see the property put back into productive use. I do think it might even be, like you said, a little incubator space. But I think investigating the situation with the land bank lot is probably a good idea.
May I chime back in?
Yes, go right ahead, Rich.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback, Maurice. I appreciate that. The one thing that I would offer up is I'm trying my best not to conflate two different items here. The permit requests that we initially submitted drawings for were for the inside of the facility. That was for the inside. It had nothing to do with an exterior site plan or parking. In response to our drawing submittal, the city came back stipulating that they would not grant us the building permit based upon the parking situation. So we're here today to ask for a variance to the parking requirements so we can start the build out of the interior space. So what we were trying to display with that lot next door was simply to say, these are some of the obstacles we need to overcome. These are the impediments in our way of being in full adherence to the code, but the request is to have a variance to remove that restriction or that requirement to this particular property. So I just want to make sure, and my apologies if I'm not articulating this the best, but the initial request was for the build out of the interior space. And we're here in response to the city's reply to us. And one of those components was the parking. And that's what we're asking for the variance for, so we can move forward with the interior build out. So I hope that makes sense. And again, my apologies if I'm not articulating appropriately, but I just want to ensure that we are understanding that the parking is in response to a request to build out the interior space.
Madam Chair, I still, in the proposed plan and variance number 3, which states that all vehicle maneuvering areas must be paved, I don't see that being addressed, and I would not support you granting a variance on that. And then we also have the 10-foot wide landscape strip. There is no landscape strip proposed. I think something could be worked out. I think there needs to be more detail on this plan with respect to the site plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he needs to work with the Development Corporation and with Larka if he wants to move this forward. But I'd like to see a postponement. I think that's what basically Tim was also alluding to. So, Rich, we really, we'd like to see this happen, but we need to have more details. We just can't grant it on could be, should be, would be. So we'd like to postpone
May I ask a
this
question?
case.
May I ask, if time permits, may I ask another question?
Yes.
and I know this is down the path of would or could, but I just want to inquire, once we proceed with conversations with the land bank, if for whatever reason we're unable to procure the lot immediately to the west of the building, for whatever reason, how would that impact coming back? Because I would be in the exact same position that I'm in right now.
Well, right now, we're not even considering the land bank lot. That's in it. We're here to decide on what you've got there. But as Maurice said, it is not
But that's my
thorough
point.
enough, and that's why I want you to work with the Development Corporation and with Marka Fields. They will help you to present a more thorough, complete plan on just exactly on your parcel, not including, you would have to come back on the land bank lot.
Yeah, and Ms. Johnson, I appreciate that again, and that's fine, and I'm 100% okay coming back. I just want to make sure that we leave here with just clear on this. It is 100% impossible to get the required parking within our lot dimensions. It's not possible.
No. We would probably pass the parking on the street for 4 or 5 cars. That's right. But we need to have all this other stuff taken care of. Mrs. Cooper, give me a date.
Thank you, Madam Chair. April 19th?
Yes.
Okay.
I would make one other comment, Mr. Assembly. When you come back, you might want to address the curb cut situation. If you're not going to be utilizing the curb cuts that are directly in front of the building, they should probably be removed and just to clean up the area so you don't end up getting parking on the front of the building.
But I can't get a permit. They won't issue me a permit for anything. I mean, they block my permits for.
I'm saying when you come back for a permit, if, let's say, you can't get the land bank lot, then you'd be coming back with a complete site plan that is self-contained within your own property with things like a paved driveway, with some kind of a landscape strip, whatever you decide on. And one of those things would probably also be to clean up the curb cut situation there.
Okay.
Just a recommendation.
Okay.
Appreciate
Work
it.
with
Thank you
us.
much.
Work with the Amanda at the Development Corporation. Okay.
All right. I appreciate your time. Thank you much.
Okay, Rich. Thank you.
Thank
We're
you.
postponing it board to April 19th without objection.
Without objection.
Without objection.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Thank you all very much. Okay, moving right along. Calendar 21-036 at 11502 Harborview. Go ahead, Miss Faith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Calendar number 21-036 at 11502 Harborview. David J. Corey, owner, proposes to erect an irregular shaped 10,632 square foot, 3-story masonry and wooden single family dwelling / boathouse in an AA1 limited 1-family district with 1 attached garage and 1 detached garage. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you very much. Tim, go right ahead.
Everyone for this case, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please reply with the words "I do" and your name.
I do, Joseph Matella. I do, Adam Davenport.
Do Chris Previtt.
Anyone else?
I do, Councilmember Jenny Spencer.
Anyone else? Last call? Hearing none on the history.
Okay, thank you. No. Go ahead, Mrs. Kukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did not hear if Mr. Corey was on the phone. I do see Mr. Coyne, who I believe is representing Mr. Corey.
he is
He
available.
was earlier.
Yes. And Mr. Costello is going to handle the presentation.
Actually, Tony, this is Joseph Matava from Peninsula Architects. I'm going to be handling the presentation.
Okay.
Sorry, Joe, I misspoke.
Go ahead, Liz, continue.
Madam Chair, there's one more issue that we'd like to clear with the appellant or the representative of the appellant. There was a miswording in the posting on the agenda. The appellant is proposing to build a 10,000 square foot, 3-story masonry and wooden single-family dwelling and a boathouse on the property. The garage has since been removed. The detached garage has since been removed. So to the applicant, this would be a moment where he could request a postponement if he thought the wording may be an issue. Perhaps Lori Wagner could speak more to the legality of the public record language.
Well, our concern was that the way this was advertised, it gives the impression that there's going to be one building which will include the house and the boathouse. And in actuality, when we saw the plans, the boathouse is a separate structure. Although, as I understand, there's also a garage which is being removed. If there's any concern that this might be challenged in court by a neighbor, you know, you may want to re-advertise it, continue the case and re-advertise it. We don't want somebody coming in and saying, oh, I didn't get the proper notice of what's going on here. On the other hand, it could be that everybody knows what's going on here, all the neighbors are fine, and so it's really your choice. And Davenport is saying there's a neighborhood meeting where the design was presented, so. I mean, what my concern is that somebody objects to this. If it's granted and somebody objects to it and tried to take it to court, that there would be a basis for an argument that the public notice wasn't totally accurate or could be said to be giving a misleading impression. And I think maybe Mr. Coyne could respond to that on behalf.
Well, we also have Councilman Spencer with her
Hand up. Okay, Jenny, go right ahead.
Thank you, everyone. I just wanted to echo what Adam Davenport stated. I will obviously leave this decision up to the appellant and the representatives of the applicant. However, we did. There was a meeting held on the 16th of March with over a dozen residents. So I think 14 total participants, and there was back and forth for over an hour with the applicant and their design team and attorney about specifics related to the project. It was made very clear in that meeting that there is not a detached garage and that there is a boathouse. However, I do note that the wording of the notice is different than what is being presented. So I just wanted to clarify there was the applicant did take the time to meet with neighbors, and it was a robust discussion lasting over an hour.
And what was the vote on it, Jenny?
There was no vote. There was no. It was not a formal design review process of any kind. It was neighbors coming to ask questions, and I believe as a result, there are support letters that have been submitted to this board. I don't know if there have been any other kinds of communications submitted to this board regarding this project, but I believe that a number of residents have expressed their support in writing.
Okay, thank you very much. And I see Mr. Coyne has his hand up.
Yes, he does, yes.
I would just echo the council members' comments. We've been very transparent with the process. The Corys have talked to the neighbors. They did see the plans. The plans have been on record with the city planning department for a period of time, so I don't see there being any kind of a problem with it. And the detached garage, which was encroaching in the front, Mr. Matava will address, but that has been removed from the project. So really, it's pretty straightforward.
Thank you.
May I say just one thing, Mr. Matava? When you're not speaking, please mute your microphone. We're getting some feedback, and it makes it hard to hear the other person speaking. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Tony. All right, Mr. Matava, ball's in your court.
Madam Chair, would you like the history of
The
the
legal
property?
standards.
Yes.
Yeah, history and legal standard. You need everything.
Boy, did I get off the track, huh?
Sorry, we all kind of got off the track. The property was originally zoned single family in 1929, and then in 1956 it was changed to the current limited one family district. And then, Madam Chair, in the records room, I didn't find any records for this address. There are no variances on file and nothing of note in the more recent history.
Okay, thank you very much. The legal standard will be judging this case on.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the off-street parking, garage placement, fence, and access requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and the granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wagner. Is Mr. Corey, is he here now or no?
I am, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
We're having some difficulty getting on.
Okay, fine. Tell us exactly what you'd like to do.
We would like to move to the neighborhood. We'd like to move our family from Bay Village to Cleveland, and the only variance that we're requesting is the variance from the garage to the street, which I believe is an issue of 11 to 14 feet or less than 5% variance currently there. And I think that Mr. Matava can explain the exact zoning issues, from his perspective of what he submitted to the city. But we're just trying to move into Cleveland. We're excited and we're trying to move our family there.
Okay, no, okay, let's get the hold of
Yes, this is Joseph Matava from Peninsula Architects representing David Corey. Thank you for your time today. We are seeking a 14-foot variance. The code requires that we strike a line halfway through the depth of the property, and no garage can be in front of that line. You can see on your graphic here, that red line running left to right on the page is the halfway of the depth of the property, and our garage projects forward 14 feet from that. That does represent a 5% variance. The 262 feet is where that red line is, and we are requesting to be at 248 feet, which is a 14-foot variance. It should be noted that the neighboring homes on both the east and west sides have front-facing garages that are 50 feet in front of our garage. The code also requires that we have side-facing garages, which we have. So the characteristic of the neighborhood is not going to be hindered or impinged upon with this variance. There's still going to be quite an offset in the front between the Corey's home and the homes neighboring on either side. So it's a pretty clear-cut variance. To push things back further would push us even further behind those homes and down a grade that is already quite steep as it moves to the north towards the lake. I would like to address the detached garage issue as it was listed. In previous designs, we had a detached garage. These are the documents that were submitted to the city, and that detached garage was not part of this submittal. So there must have been some confusion regarding a previous plan and what was submitted for the variance. So that is where the detached garage issue came from a previous plan that must have gotten confused with this plan somewhere along the line. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have. It should be noted that we've been working with Adam Davenport from the city, and this is the only variance issue that we are required to have to build this home in its current design state. So thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. But I'd like to hear from Adam.
Good morning. Yes, I think so. There was some confusion over the first write-up, which was only for the boathouse itself, but the owner and the architect resubmitted for the house plans as well, and I think thus we come to only one variance issue, which is parking in the rear half of the lot. That purpose and intent of that rule is obviously for other areas of the city that don't have lake views and such deep lots where garages are desired probably in the front of the house with lake views in the back. So we've been against other cases for front-loaded garages before in more in different areas of the city, but I think in the past couple of years, to my memory, I think we've supported at least two new houses along Harborview and or Edgewater that have the same kind of unique situation. So we are supportive of this request. We reviewed both the boathouse and house itself at our internal design review meetings, and as Mr. Matava stated, they did conform to kind of our design standard of shielding or kind of treating the garage so it looks like it does not appear so from the street, and it's in fact side loaded as opposed to some of the other older houses designed in the street. I'll leave it at that for right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adam. Board, have any questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
The write-up still states that there's paving required for the driveway. I'm assuming that the appellant is proposing paving. There is also something about a retaining wall and an unobstructed entrance access way to the rear building. So have those things been addressed? And there was another notice of nonconformance. The two notices of nonconformance that I saw, it seems like I have the most recent one, so I don't know if there was a third one that I didn't see.
Yeah, I can address that if you would like, Madam Chair.
Go right ahead, Joe.
Yes, the issues regarding paving and access to the rear have been addressed in this current site plan.
So you are no longer asking for a variance from the paving?
No, to my understanding, the only variance we're asking for is this garage setback. There were some comments from the city regarding no retaining wall higher than 6 feet, and we do not have any retaining walls higher than 6 feet. So yes, our variance is for the 14-foot setback.
And then regarding the unobstructed entrance access way to the rear building, I don't know if Mr. Riccardi can expand on that. Or is it possible that it's not required now? Are you actually supplying that access?
We have a pedestrian type access. It's very steep back there, so you're not going to get a vehicle down there, but something like a vehicle, like a small four-wheel gator or something like that is what that access is designed for.
Is there a garage underneath that second house underneath? It looks like a garage door, but I'm not sure.
That's storage for boats and kayaks and life jackets and things like that.
All right. Can you get down to the lake from that position?
It is quite rocky, and the owner is working towards having a dock installed in the lake under a separate permit. So our current design does not show that connection, and that would be shown if and when the approval for the dock is in place.
Okay. Board questions? Anybody? It's a beautiful house. Hello. Okay, now there are no more questions. I'll entertain a motion. I don't see any of my board members. Hello.
Yeah, I was trying to unmute. Madam Chair, given the testimony and support from city planning, I move that we approve the variances as requested for calendar number 21-036, noting section 34102 we cannot give, and that the appellant has testified that due to the plans submitted, that they were only requesting for the variance for the garage.
Second.
Call the roll.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry. It seems that they're also requesting the variance, item number 5, regarding the unobstructed access way to the rear building. The appellant stated that it's a pedestrian access, and I'm not sure if that would actually be enough for the what's required for the code. I'm not sure if Mr. Riccardi can tell us if a variance is still needed, if pedestrian access is allowed.
You can make a friendly amendment to my motion.
So sections, okay.
I'll
Okay,
make
so
that
we
amendment.
thank you. All right, so Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes? Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar 21-36 is granted conditionally. We are granting sections 337.23A2 as well as 357.15A. This will be ratified April 5th, and we will send you a letter.
Liz, I don't think you called on me.
Pardon me?
I don't think you called on me for a yes vote. You made the motion, but you didn't call me.
Sorry. Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's Monday after St. Patrick's Day.
We're still recovering.
We're still
Thank you, Madam
struggling.
Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Okay, we have a postponement on 21038, but we'll go. Okay, 21040. Is this Free Street Mikata? It's identical to something in 19166? Liz?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is a repeat. They are requesting the same variance. It's a 28 space parking lot. And they were granted all of the, actually, there was a condition that they meet the front yard setback issue regarding parking in the front setback. They were providing, I think, a 15.5-foot landscaping strip and then parking behind that. So it was granted with conditions in 2019.
But it's exactly the same. Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Okay.
Okay. You want to read the case first?
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Faith.
Yeah. Okay.
We keep getting out of order.
I know. Tell me about it.
Calendar number 21-040 at 1458 East 114th Street. IOZ LLC owner proposes to build a 28-space parking lot in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you.
Everyone for this case, kindly raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Looking for a response of I do in your name.
I do, Kevin Olim.
Anyone else? Last call. Hearing none, it's on to history.
Okay, go ahead, Liz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have pretty much covered what's relevant in this case. Zoning hasn't changed, and the variance that was granted in 2019, it was granted in August of 2019. And again, it was granted with the condition that the appellant submit a site plan showing that a 15.5 landscape area would be provided, and that the parking in the front setback would be removed. And also it was noted that the parking at the time was for a multifamily building across the street. I think that's all that's relevant, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Wagner?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting area variances from the off-street parking, lighting, and screening requirements of the zoning code, as well as permission to construct a parking lot in a residential district. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. Section 34913C provides that the board may permit temporarily or permanently the use of land in a residential district for a parking lot when the best interest of the community will be served, and provided that, and there are then a list of 8 conditions, which I'm not going to read this time since this is a repeat, and they have been provided to the board and are on the screen.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wagner. Who's going to be the spokesperson? Is the councilman online here? No? Okay. The gentleman that was sworn in, I couldn't hardly hear him, so I don't have his name.
Kevin Allen.
Kevin?
That's correct. Thank you.
Okay, Kevin, are you the owner?
I am.
Okay, tell us exactly. It's going to be the same. There were a couple of things that Mrs. Kukla mentioned that were part of the agreement the last time. Are you still adhering to those?
Yes, Madam Chair. So appreciate the time. This is exactly the same submission. There is this pesky thing known as a pandemic that kind of set back some of our building timelines. This parking lot, as referenced, is in direct relationship to a rehab project across the street. That has been our focus over the last, let's say, 12 months. I'm proud to announce to the board and the team that we are with occupancy, and tenants are coming into the building, which was once a blighted eyesore, now has high quality units being rented. And as such, the parking is of a priority. However, the lapse of timing brings us back to the board so we can get the approval and the construction started. So nothing has changed. All commitments are in place. And the only positive news that I would offer is that we have a 17-unit multifamily building that is now active in this neighborhood with some really exciting energy. So thank you.
Thank you. Board, any other questions? Maurice, City of Cleveland?
Yes, Madam Chair, as before, we fully support this project.
Okay.
Madam Chair, this is Liz. I'm sorry, I thought Mr. Rulers was done. Sorry.
No, that's good. I was just going to say we're just very, very happy that the apartment building was brought back to a habitable and a high quality state for having residents move back into the neighborhood. So that's great.
Very good.
So, Madam Chair, I received an objection letter this morning at 9:40. The appellant states that she's writing on behalf of her, I'm sorry, the letter author is writing that she's writing on behalf of her mother, Ms. Crowder, who lives at 1465 East 112th Street. So she would back up to the property. She objects to the building of the 28 space parking lot, which is directly behind her backyard. She objects because there's a very big tree that belongs to the owner of 1458 East 114th Street, being the appellant, and it has encroached upon her property and fence that was installed to make it appear as the tree is on her property. She has attempted to address the issue for several years with no avail. Her hope is that this tree can be removed by the respective owner. Please advise. Thank you. Sincerely, Ms. Rhonda Crowder. That's all that I have.
I'm going to throw the question to Kevin. Kevin, what about those? Well, it looks like there's a couple of trees back there.
Is it the tree in the middle here?
If that's the tree of reference, I do not believe it's on the property line, but ultimately my response would be this, is that we look to both install a parking lot as well as address any landscaping and trees that are on our parking lot. And if they're encroaching on a neighbor's yard, we'd be, of course, more than able to address that. That said, I'm not entirely sure on what specific tree she's talking about, and would just want to get clarity around where that tree physically is. But ultimately, as far as our commitment as good neighbors, we're trying to take what is, as you can see, a kind of vacant lot with not the most attractive landscaping and bring some high quality parking and landscaping to it. And in that process, if we can help our neighbor by addressing the tree, we'd be more than willing to, with, again, just the caveat, making sure that we're clear on which tree that is.
Yeah, Madam Chair, that middle tree looks like it's behind someone's fence. So I don't think that's on his property.
No, I don't either.
So that's what the author of the letter stated, is that the fence was put up to make it seem as though the tree was on her property. Sounds like a private matter.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
about to get into that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, board, any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, this is the exact same thing we granted in 2019. So I move that we approve the variances as requested for calendar number 21-040, noting that the same conditions we had in 2019 apply to this.
Second.
Second.
Call the roll.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Thanks for remembering me this time, Liz. Thanks. Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar 21-40 is granted. It'll be ratified on April 5th, and we will send you a letter.
Calendar 21-006 at 9501 Pierpont. Wait a minute.
Thank you, Madam
Have
Chair.
we researched the Ray Judicata?
Madam Chair, I'm not sure we have anybody here for this project.
Hello, goodbye.
Madam Chair, yeah, because I
Yes,
if you
it
look
looks
at
like
the,
yeah, it's just us on
it's
here.
just us.
Oh, good. Hi, us.
Is anybody here for 9501 Pierpoint? Going once?
Going twice.
There's not even any call-in users left, so it
Okay.
wouldn't
Yeah.
even be that. At least not that I can see. Am I missing something?
No.
No.
Old business.
I'm ready. 1 through 8 without, we got to dismiss that then. Without
Oh,
objection?
yeah.
Without objection.
Yep.
Without objection here.
Okay. Did I get everybody? Marlene, without objection?
I'm without objection too.
Thank you, Faye.
Objection, Marlene.
Okay, Marlene, thank you. Okay. Without objection from Johnson. And now we'll go to what they're going to call and tell you that they didn't get their letter. I know that. Hello.
And I just checked really quick to see if Mr. White, who's identified as the owner, if maybe he emailed us this morning. I didn't see anything.
Okay.
So there is one more thing. I got an email from the owner, Peter Francis, at a case that we postponed last Monday, calendar 21-37, regarding 2168 West 32nd Street. We postponed it to April 5th. He is now going to meet with the block club. Originally, it was postponed because he is changing it to a 3-dwelling unit, and that information wasn't readily available to the Building and Housing Department. So the notice of nonconformance didn't reflect that. So he was postponed to April 5th. Now he's asking for additional time. So thinking April 19th or even the last week, the 22nd, 26th.
Yeah, let's go to the very, very end, 22nd.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds
Agree.
good.
Without objection, board?
Without
Without
objection.
objection.
Okay, good. And then 1 through 8 on the old business, without objection?
Without
Thank you.
objection.
And Kelly will not be with us the day after Easter. Evidently, she's doing her annual trip.
Finally.
And I'm jealous.
And we are not meeting next Monday because I am going to be out of town.
Yes, I'm also jealous
Oh,
of you.
no meeting on the 29th?
No meeting on the 20th.
Correct.
Wow.
Yes.
Have an extra cup of coffee.
All right.
Woohoo! There we
It is-
go.
It is pretty slow right now too. We had very few cases to put on, so I pushed them to April 5th. So we're good.
All right.
Very good.
Excellent.
All right, thank
Everybody, enjoy your vacations.
Thank you. Liz, don't go yet. I want to.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
See you
Have a
April
good
5th.
weekend. Yeah.